So let's go into exactly what's being presented this week in terms of the new evolocumab data. Dr. Gaudet, maybe you can help kind of set the tone for us in highlighting some of the major findings, at least what stands out to you as the most outstanding findings from this phase 3 data.
Let's start with the fact that evolocumab is a well-known agent which hugely decreases LDL cholesterol levels and also decreases cardiovascular risk in adults. The main purpose of the HAUSER study was to assess the safety and efficacy of evolocumab in the pediatric population affected by a disease called familial hypercholesterolemia. Familial hypercholesterolemia, obviously, in the name tells it, it means that you have a familial cause of high cholesterol level. It's the most frequent genetic disorder worldwide, with a prevalence of 1/250 approximately. And if untreated, it contributes to a very important cardiovascular risk. So the question was, because it has never been tested in the pediatric population, I mean, evolocumab has never been tested in the pediatric population before in a placebo-controlled study. HAUSER was the first placebo-controlled study evaluating the safety and efficacy of the agent evolocumab to incrementally decrease LDL cholesterol over standard of care of statin with or without ezetimibe in patients affected by FH. The main findings in this study is that, well, it was, as a matter of fact, safe and very effective, because in the sample of 157 individuals, 104 having received evolocumab and 53 being over placebo for 24 weeks. Well, LDL cholesterol decreased by 44.5% in the treated group, and it was well tolerated. I mean, what does I mean by well tolerated? If we compare the adverse events, the side effects in the treated population versus the placebo population, the incident of side effects were very similar in both groups. So this was an important element to highlight. We were expecting such results, but since it has never been evaluated, well, it's important, might be of interest for those young FH patients not being a target and being at very high risk due to their family history of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah. And I think, the impact of these findings are spoken for just in the name familial hypercholesterolemia itself, but not only that, of course, its prevalence. So assessing its value in pediatric patients seems like sort of a natural step for the PCSK9 inhibitor drug class, right? Is this where we see the entire agent class?
Well, you're right. I mean, FH, FH, what is it to start with? I know that a lot of physicians are familiar with the disease, but it's there from birth. I mean, the defect is there from birth. So your risk starts at birth. Yeah. It's a family disorder. So that means that that needs a family screening approach, family treatment approach, and this family-based approach means that we have to understand the mechanism of action of all potential treatments for the family, not only for the adults, but for the child as well, the affected child, or the children if there are more than one affected child in the family. So this was an essential step, a natural step. But obviously, it was an important step, because otherwise we would never known if it was safe and effective in the pediatric population.
And when we're looking at these, obviously the valuation of 44.5% reduction, you said, scaled against the safety findings, as you mentioned, that being so important. Is there any greater valuation between the two? Is there something that your team went in to prioritize, like we really need to make sure this is safe, and then an added bonus was the efficacy?
I think the answer to that is time. What we need is to assess the safety and efficacy over time. That's the critical element in the pediatric population in particular. Pediatric and young adults, it's important to establish that such treatments are at long-term effective in decreasing cardiovascular risk, and this will require time and safe one time as well. So, and if on top of time, it's a number. number of individuals. 157 individuals participating in the trial. I mean, a pediatric FH trial. It's the largest trial in FH in the pediatric population having never been conducted, but it's still a small sample size compared to the tens of thousands of adults having been treated with evolocumab in the last 10 years.